number. Joining me each and every week possible is my co-host, Matt O.G.
Hello!
How are you, Matt?
I am swell, thank you. Not really. No, I'm actually not swell.
Bring it down a tiny little bit there, Paul. Thank you.
Snow on the first day of spring makes me kind of pissed and agitated.
It is snowing in New York City. It's been snowing for, I think, about 6 hours now.
That sounds about right.
But on the plus, I don't see anything sticking in Manhattan, but I hear everywhere else it is. And the rest,
it's slick.
And the rest of the country doesn't give two shits that we were getting snow. So we're not really going to spend much more time on that other than it is.
Yeah.
My buddy Giddles is here. Hi, Giddles.
Hey, Erik. How's it going?
Giddlebase on the Twitter and Instagram.
That's
Matt,
me.
Geek Stuff OG on the Twitter and Instagram for Matt, and I am Erock Radio on the Twitter and the Instagram. And also sitting in for a little while is Lewis.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
Lewis is our intern for Opie and Jimmy, and he helps out on Sam's show, and he helps out on this show. And we thought we'd give him a shot in hanging out and see how he does today.
Ooh, it's like a trial by combat.
I like to hang.
Yeah, what can you bring to the table?
Well, he's bringing something pretty cool that we're going to try to get done sometime in April. We'll get into those details a little later once we have that all finalized, but it's going to be kind of fun.
Nice.
And it could lead to bigger and better things, which is always good.
Bigger and better.
A lot to get to this week. On the show today, we're going to finally get to Chris Elliott, and I apologize for last week, but the Meatball saga seemed a little bit more important at the time.
The Meatball trilogy.
So I went with that. We'll air the interview in a little while with Chris Elliott talking about Schitt's Creek, and of course I got to talk to him about Get a Life, one of my favorite shows.
And Cabin Boy.
Cabin Boy, which is
the greatest movie ever made.
50-50. Some people absolutely hate it. Some people absolutely love it.
Shut your mouth, Erik. It's amazing.
So we'll talk to him in a little bit.
Erik.
We'll also talk to a person who I just recently found out is a good friend of our own Matt's. Is Brian Lynch.
Yeah, man. I've known Brian for quite some time.
Screenwriter, comic book writer. This guy does a lot. He wears many hats.
He does wear many hats. And he's a very funny, kind young man.
He'll be calling in about an hour. We're going to talk to him about. He wrote the screenplay for the Minions movie.
Oh, cool.
He did.
The origin story for the Minions there, which is part of the Despicable Me franchise, if you're not familiar with that. And he's also responsible for the most triumphant return of Bill and Ted.
That is correct. He's writing the sequel comic, and I want to ask him now, what does that mean for the films?
Well, it could be good because since that comic book came out, all I see is Alex Winter tweeting photos of him reading the comic book. Like, we get it, we know you're on board with all this thing. But to Alex Winter's credit, he's been trying for a long, long time to get Bill and Ted's 3 rolling, and it's a great idea. And from the little I've heard of what the concept might be, this was years ago. It could have changed by now. It seemed pretty cool.
And Keanu Reeves is on board too. He wants to do it as well.
That took a while, but he only got on board a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
he was the big holdout, and then unfortunately George Carlin died. But I'm also hearing a rumor that he recorded a bunch of stuff. So his voice might be present in the third movie.
Oh, that would be interesting.
So I don't know if that's true. That's just stuff I read off of message boards and whatever. But I guess
it's on the internet. It's not always
They tried doing a bunch of stuff a long time ago to try to get Bill and Ted 3 going. And apparently there is some audio of George Carlin that they may just use somehow working in with cinema magic,
because you need
Rufus,
the
movie. You do.
Rufus is he's pretty key to that movie.
You need Rufus.
So
So what's the premise of it though? Like, I feel like at the end of 2, they kind of became kings of the world. Like, where do you go from there? Do they find a new phone booth that goes back and changes the time, or
well, we'll talk to Brian about the comic too, because I think the comic has some good stuff sequely in there as well. So.
And after we speak to Brian, we'll also have the star of the brand new CW series. It was a comic book, now it's a TV show, iZombie. We'll talk to actress Rosie McIver.
I loved the first episode, gotta say.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it very much.
Rosie McIver.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hear you. Does she kill zombies with paper clips and...
MacGyver.
A little late on that, Paul, but that's fine.
It's snowy out, Erik.
So we will be talking to actress Rosie McIver in a few minutes.
Yes.
Oh, this is what Opie goes through with me.
See, now
It's weird being on the other side.
It sucks,
Now
doesn't
you
it,
know.
Erik?
Damn.
If only we had MacGyver.
He's putting up one finger like I do. You can't use these tricks, Paul. I'm yelling at me.
MacGyver.
There we go.
There it is.
MacGyver.
Paul has 2 hours to live.
For people who don't know, well, watch The Simpsons and figure it out for yourself. I'm not going into that storyline. But for about a week and a half, Brian and I have been secretly laughing at each other, just texting MacGyver back and forth to each other. Anyway, so we'll do all that a little bit later here. Where do we want to start? There's so much news going on. There's Deadpool stuff. There's Community's back. There's new movies. There's remakes. There's a whole bunch of shit going on. Where do you want to go?
Well, we could start with Community.
Let's start with Community
because that started this week. They showed the first 2 episodes over on Yahoo Screen. Fucking Yahoo Screen, man.
Is this the last season of Community?
Well, we don't know.
Okay.
We don't know. Potentially,
it was designed that they were going to try to give a proper send-off to the series, and then Yahoo was nice enough to pick it up.
Right.
And so they were like, okay, we're going to go into our final thing, but there's so much buzz around it, and they may get more people watching it online than they did watching it on NBC, so they may kind of change it a little bit and go, this is really, it's a rebirth for the whole franchise. They may just say, no, we're going to keep going with this thing, as long as everybody's involved.
Okay.
Chevy Chase be damned.
Chevy Chase not involved, at least in the first episode, and Donald Glover also. I don't think is involved in this season.
Well, they killed him off. Not Donald Glover. They killed off Chevy Chase.
They did kill. Yeah, but there was the hologram Chevy Chase at the end of the last season. So they could bring him back in hologram form. That would be very funny. And they've added Paget Brewster to the cast this season as well. You may know her from Criminal Minds if you ever watched that show. But did you watch the first episode of Community yet?
I have not. But I did watch all the the videos of crowds watching Community that surfaced everywhere just because everyone's now all of a sudden a huge Community fan.
Her role on the show is a bit odd, but the first episode was really weird. They broke the fourth wall like way more than they usually do.
Like House of Cards style, or
yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out if like this is their way of like catching you up and bringing you back into the world of Community, and hopefully it doesn't like go the whole suit. Not that it was bad. It was just. It was in your face a lot for that first episode, but it was a good episode. Definitely check it out.
If you're a fan of Community, we'd like to hear from you. 866-969-1969, because it seems to be that show has fans all over the place. Where some were fans of the TV but may not follow to Yahoo. Some people maybe are just finding it online because that's how. I hate to sound like an old man, but that's how young people watch TV nowadays. They're not even doing it on cable anymore, so that you can watch previous seasons. I think they're on Hulu.
Yes.
I'm not sure if they're on Netflix, but I know they're on Hulu, and then you can jump over to Yahoo to catch up with everything with that. Also, I wanted to point out, thanks to our good friends at Shout Factory, I have some things to give away here. Are you a fan of anybody here, Mr. Bean?
How could you not be a fan of Mr. Bean?
Okay.
Rowan Atkinson.
Well, Shout Factory does some amazing things. They get some great licenses, and then they put together these box sets and packages with everything possible that you as a fan of anything could want, and they did so with Mr. Bean here. It's called The Whole Bean Remastered 25th Anniversary Collection. It's all the episodes from his. I know it aired here in PBS, but I don't know who did it over. Maybe it's Thames TV or ITV or whoever.
Does it say on the case?
Probably
they wouldn't. It
probably only says PBS or whoever the head.
It doesn't even say that. That's why I was looking at the back here. But anyway, if you're familiar with the Mr. Bean TV series, I think growing up in the United States, 70s, 80s. Into the 90s, it was always on PBS. You always saw this thing, especially around Christmas time.
I don't know about the 70s, but definitely the 80s.
Sorry, the 80s and 90s. If you were born in the 70s. Then. One of the most famous scenes, sight gags from Mr. Bean is the turkey on his head, which a lot of other shows, including Friends, have mimicked.
Yep.
It originated with him. I think the movies are all a part of this, and... Is
the animated series in there? There was a Mr. Bean animated series.
How much could be in there? It's like one DVD case. It's like the smallest case I've ever seen.
Have you felt it? It weighs. You can kill somebody with that DVD case.
It's heavy. It says the animated series trailer. I don't think the animated series is probably a different production company.
Okay.
But the Mr. Bean documentary is in there. Bunch of missing scenes that weren't put into the original TV episodes are on here. There's a bunch of cool stuff here.
The armchair sale one is amazing.
Yeah. So we have those to give away. I was excited to get these, and I was just like, wow, Mr. Bean, so awesome. So Community is back.
Yes.
You saw the first two episodes?
They did the first 2 this week, but I only had a chance to watch the first one before this evening. But I liked it. Like I said, it's good. If you're a fan of Community, you'll definitely like it. There's just something a little bit weird about it, and I can't put my finger on whether or not it's new or, just
a different feel.
Just a reintroduction to the show.
Does it feel like they all care about this project, or is it more like Arrested Development Season 4, where they all came back because the fans demanded it, and they're just doing it to get it out of the way.
No, I think they all are generally interested in the project, but the entire dynamic of the show changes with a couple of people not being there, and they're no longer students either. Like Jeff is a teacher, and I'm not sure what Annie is doing there at all. And Abed, I think, is just there because that's what he does, and that's his whole life is at school. So the dynamic is a little bit different, but it still works. Like there's some funny stuff in the first episode. So.
Paul, what were you saying?
Did any of you guys see the documentary Harmontown? It's on Netflix. It's like the transition between when he got fired from Community to when he got rehired.
No.
I have not seen it.
I have it at home. I think at one point we were supposed to get him on Opie and Anthony and scheduling or what have you there. But yeah, he put out a documentary. He also does a podcast.
I love his podcast. I listen to it every week.
I haven't heard the podcast yet.
It's great.
It is good?
It's pretty ridiculous. Like, he talks about Community like all the time. I've only seen 2 episodes of Community, but I feel like I've seen the entire show from listening to his podcast.
You have to watch Community.
Yeah, and
ridiculous.
Every episode I've seen, I've absolutely loved. I just haven't had time to sit down and
the paintball wars, the D&D, the pillow fort versus blanket fort episode alone is worth it.
The first episode I saw was one where they were going to like space camp or something like that. And they were driving like a Winnebago that was like a space thing, and it was pretty funny.
There's a big Doctor Who ripoff.
Well, that's what I was about to say. They're obviously Doctor Who fans, and I'm a big fan of Inspector Spacetime.
That's right.
That they do, which is really, really poorly done Doctor Who. But they make it obvious that they're
goofing on it. Yeah.
There is one episode. Were you a fan of Star Trek Next Generation at all?
No, I was not.
Okay, there's one episode where they get an apartment and they're both living in bunk beds in one room, and they turn the other room into the holodeck. They paint it black with yellow stripes, and they go in there and pretend that they're in scenarios, which is what in Star Trek the holodeck would. It was their way of relaxation or investigation. They would the computer would bring up and put you in different times in history, and wherever you wanted to go, this thing would generate it for you. But they would go and do that, so you'd see the story through one person's mind as they're doing it. But then somebody would open the door and look, and you just see the other guy in a black room, they're wearing a costume, dancing around. They're like, all right, shut the door. But
sounds awesome.
I'm kind of envious that they had a holodeck room.
Yeah, really, I want one.
Eric, you can make a holodeck room in your
I was
house.
just thinking that.
Eric's got so many rooms in his house, it's like Clue. He doesn't even know what to do with the rooms. Like, he walks around in there, you like pull in a bookcase and like a chicken comes out. It's crazy.
The other day, my door rang. I opened up. It was a singing telegram. So I shot her.
Exactly. Nice. That's what you got to do.
Let's go to Luke in Austin. Luke, how are you,
That's
sir?
how it could have ended.
Hey, Rock, what's up, buddy? Love the show. Hey, I'm a massive fan of Community, and I wanted to make sure that you were aware that this Inspector Spacetime thing has such a cult following that they actually have a subreddit on Reddit about Inspector Spacetime where people are making up, bogus episodes and scripts and stuff. It's taken on a life of its own on the internet.
Just go to Doctor Who and let the show. The show knows what they're doing. Let them make the fan fiction, or not even fan fiction. The show. They know what they're writing. Just stop with the dumb fan fiction stuff. But I did see.
Having a good time.
I did see a bunch of bootleg T-shirts at New York Comic Con for Inspector Spacetime, which I did eye a couple of them pretty well, and I was just like, nah, I'm just gonna stay with the Doctor Who.
Legit.
Luke, you're a fan of Mr. Bean.
I'm a huge fan of Mr. Bean, actually. Yeah, totally.
How did you discover Mr. Bean?
Well, it used to run on HBO at pretty weird hours, or maybe it was one of the HBO offshoot channels, like HBO Comedy or something like that. But, they used to show it on there, and when you could catch an episode, I mean, they would usually place it next to Mr. Show with Bob and Dave.
Another great program.
Perfect.
Like the best. So I'd catch those kind of like in an hour. Yeah, I may have been smoking something. It was very enjoyable. I enjoyed myself very much.
Could you imagine a marathon if you're up really late at night and you're watching Mr. Bean, Mr. Show, and Monty Python come on? It's like, I'm not going to work tomorrow.
Sleep.
That's what I'm talking about.
And then you can randomly pepper in episodes of... sorry.
No, that's the way to go, man. You're talking about it. That's the way to go.
What were you going to say?
You can randomly pepper in episodes of Syphil and Ollie for a really good time.
Syphil and Ollie show.
Rock. Yeah. Luke, I'm going to put you on hold. I'm going to give you a copy of Mr. Bean, The Whole Bean, the remastered 25th anniversary collection from our friends at Shout Factory.
Badass E-Rock. Thanks, buddy.
No problem. Thank you for listening. Tell two friends. Luke on line 1 will win that. Let's go to, let's see, Muhammad in Philly. Here, started watching Community on Hulu. How you doing, man?
Hey, what's up? Yeah, I watched Community on Hulu, so I don't think moving to Yahoo is going to increase the viewership, because Hulu is internet-based and so does Yahoo. So I don't think Community is going to get more viewers than Hulu.
Okay.
All right, there you go.
Fair enough, but a lot of people do find nowadays their shows, their programming habits are all watching online rather than watching network television.
I just wish Yahoo Screen was available through more, like through other services. Like I think you can get it if you have an Apple TV, but if you have like Fire Stick or Chromecast, there is no Yahoo Screen.
I never got.
There's no app for it. It's just you have to go stream it through the website.
You have to go stream through the website.
Are those sticks really worth doing? Because I tried, even though my smart TV has all the apps and stuff, I got a Chromecast at one point just to try it out to see about sending stuff to the screen from your computer, what have you. And for some reason, the Chromecast just was not syncing with FiOS.
I love the Fire Stick. I have the Amazon Fire Stick, and I have FiOS, and it syncs perfect. I mean, I use Netflix there, I use Amazon Prime through there, and then I have I use Plex through there as well. If you use Plex, oh, and I use Allcast through there as well. So I mean, I can watch pretty much anything, and I like that I could take it with me. Like if I travel, I just bring the stick with me, and I have access. As long as I have Wi-Fi, I'm good to go. So
that's cool. My sister has a Chromecast. She likes it a lot, but I've never picked one up.
Well, you're one of those people that doesn't have cable TV anymore. You watch everything online.
Yeah, and like at least for like 10 years.
How do you? I don't want to say how you function, but how do you fare as far as keeping current on what's new and what's popular, or what's got not even popular, but what's got the latest buzz, or might be the up and coming thing? How do you stay current with it?
I usually don't. Like I don't watch a lot of TV. I just find the things that I like, and then I hunt them down. So I'll just type in like genres of shows I like, and then just read articles until I find something that I haven't seen yet. That's how I found like Black Mirror and Orphan Black and like a bunch of other shows.
But you were finding Black Mirror. Well, not so much Orphan Black, but you found Black Mirror and a few other shows before they hit here.
Oh yeah, a long time ago.
Right.
So I was watching that. I was watching Utopia, which is a UK4 show, which is extremely bleak.
Not the reality show that they tried on Fox.
No, not the reality show. But like, David Fincher's making the HBO version of it, so it'll be interesting. But that's how I find things. I read articles. My friends tell me.
So unless you're doing research, or you find things by chance or word of mouth, you're not just watching TV and then seeing it pop up and going, "Oh yeah, I should watch that."
No,
too.
I don't even know movies that are out. If I go over a friend's house and they have a TV and it's on, then I'll see a commercial. I'm like, holy shit, I don't even know that movie exists.
Right.
It's kind of weird.
Lewis, what about you?
I'm usually just checking iTunes, and I'll look for the top TV shows that people are downloading.
Do you have cable, or do you?
I have cable.
Oh, you do.
But I'm usually working.
Right.
Or I'm usually just outside of the house, so I usually just watch on my phone, iTunes, Netflix.
So you download a lot of stuff to go?
A lot of stuff to go. Yeah, rent a lot of movies from iTunes also.
I've been for the longest time, I was against Ultraviolet. I just didn't care. And something clicked with me about 6 months ago, and I went through, that huge wall of DVDs that I have in my house. Yes. I went through and I found all the those Ultraviolet cards that come with the movies, and I've been loading it into Flickster. And I've been finding that either through the smart TV or on the iPad and stuff, I've been actually watching more of these movies that I have, even though they're on DVD, and I haven't opened them yet. Just because I have it set in my Flickster account. Same with the Disney. Disney has all their movies on their own server too, so you can just click different apps and you got your whole library there. Makes it so much easier. I don't know why I have all those DVDs still, but
do you think you'll upgrade to a hard drive or?
I was thinking about that. I did a lot of research for the past couple of years where I was just I was reading everything I possibly could as far as. Well, this isn't totally legal, but ripping your DVDs to a server that I could access privately in my house. There's a lot of work that goes into that, especially with all the movies that I have. And you could do it. I know people would say you can just download it from, you can buy it off Amazon or iTunes, whatever. It's already done and there for you. But the amount of stuff that I have, that's a lot of money. Sure. It's like paying full price again for the stuff I already paid full price for. Yeah. So as time goes on, I'm figuring it out more and more. But the streaming service, that's the only way I can see using the cloud and not being paranoid about it. Because there's no personal information on there. It's licensed movies that I've purchased at some point. They can sit in the cloud. They're not in my house. I'm fine with that. I can't put other shit up on the cloud because I don't. It's garbage. No, not at all. Yeah, Paul. Did you have something?
I was going to ask Matt because you know more about it seems like you know more about the Yahoo Screen. What other programs are going to be available on it? Like just Community? Because like that caller said, like he doesn't think Community is going to be able to compete on that platform.
I think Community is definitely the first big one for them. I think before that they were streaming. They had access or rights to other shows and some like smaller programming. But I think Community is the first one. I'm guessing if it does well, they'll try to pick up and license more stuff like Hulu did and like Netflix and Amazon. Again, I think one of the hurdles, though, is they need to make Yahoo Screen available on more platforms because it's really limited right now, and I think it affects how you watch it.
And isn't everybody in a bidding war for to get Seinfeld now, too?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm surprised someone doesn't have Seinfeld already. Netflix had it for a while. But I would think Yahoo or Hulu would be one of those two places would be a great spot for it online if you don't have Netflix. But even still, Hulu would put it in Hulu Plus. I doubt if they would put it in a Yahoo Screen is free, which is nice. You don't have to pay for it. It's not a subscription service. It's just limited how you can access it, which is what I don't understand. Why it's not available on everything. Every platform should have access to Yahoo Screen if it's free. You're not paying for it. So what's the holdback?
Is it like a developing thing, like trying to get people to develop it for like Android versus like iPhones or like screens and stuff? Like, I don't know.
It could be. Maybe Apple TV is just the first one to grab it, and no one else has done it. Because I don't even think Roku has it. I could be wrong on that, but so
we've talked about this various times, but with services like Netflix and Hulu, and it's pretty much your one-stop shop to getting mostly everything you want to watch and stuff you didn't even know existed, and you'll watch. But because corporations do technically own these properties, a lot of them, Warner Brothers, Sony, I think Fox at some point, are trying to put out their own streaming services where it's just the stuff that they own. By doing this, and there's only so many subscriptions that people are going to pay for a month, where it's only $7, yes, but I got to pay $7 to Disney and to Fox and to Sony and to Warner Brothers just to watch movies and stuff, where people will start to demand it's got to be on Netflix or one central thing. I'll pay more. I'll pay $20 a month maybe for everything to go to Netflix if all these movie companies sign their deals and it's all right there in one spot.
Yeah, if they get greedy and they all start creating their own.
But that's what's happening.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen, I think.
I feel like some of them have these weird like pay libraries, but it's their obscure shit that isn't anywhere else. But still, like, who's paying $7 a month for some weird obscure Sony library? Maybe once in a while you want it. It's greed is the problem, but
yeah.
Let's go to John in San Jose. John, how are you?
Good, how are you? You're a great show.
Thanks, man.
I was going to talk about Community, which you guys were talking about streaming services, which living here in San Jose is something that we're all talking about all the time. What is happening is that nobody can basically get the one ring to rule them all.
Right.
Everybody wants to put up their own service so that they can get the biggest piece of the pie from whatever it is that they're offering. You guys were talking about Seinfeld. Seinfeld, after Friends made it to Netflix, Seinfeld's now seen as the next huge property that if somebody can grab onto it, they'll, exponentially grow their user base just because they have Seinfeld. The other thing, Yahoo Screen, now available also on TiVo, but it also
people still have TiVo?
I guess so.
They do.
Wow.
Also, Yahoo Screen before Community was the one place to go for legal Saturday Night Live clips. They bought the entire back catalog of Saturday Night Live.
Oh, okay.
So you can go in there and search for, everything from the Bass-O-Matic all the way to those dumb guys that bob their head in the club. And you can pull up the exact clip.
The Roxbury brothers, right? Yeah.
Night at the Roxbury.
Night at the Roxbury. Thank you.
Yeah. So that was their big offering before they got Community. They're also doing a lot of streaming of live concerts through a deal with Live Nation. So if you really wanted to see that obscure show of the Shins from Austin this summer, they might be streaming it live through Yahoo Screen.
There you
go. What you said before about using Lord of the Rings terminology, one service to rule them all, that was Netflix. I've been a subscriber of Netflix since 2002.
I can vouch for that.
When it was a DVD service.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you remember all...
Oh, my God. Eric got many DVDs.
At one point, I was doing 5 at a time,
Nice.
5 DVDs, and I was just... they would come in, I'd watch them, put them back out next day.
Yeah.
And so I've been with them for a long time. And when they started their streaming service, even with the DVD service, they had almost everything. And the streaming service originally had it too. But then as time was going on, they made the production companies and the studios made the licensing a bit harder to get, more expensive, and then started branching out, like we said, into their own services. So at one point, because nobody thought Netflix was going to equal shit,
right?
You know, so everybody's like, yeah, sign it. Yeah, you can have our license, whatever. Nobody's going to go to your service. And Netflix revolutionized this whole, way that everybody watches TV and pretty much invented the whole binge watching thing. But now they're like, well, fuck Netflix. Let's get our money. Instead of getting their money from Netflix, they're going to say, oh, let's get our money from the other people, and it's just going to oversaturate the market, and this is going to kill off a lot of these streaming services.
Well, I think what will happen is you'll have this big bloom. Right, all these companies are going to do it, and they're going to realize that it's not profitable for them because people are not paying the extra money, and it's going to collapse in on itself, and it's going to go back to Netflix and maybe Amazon and iTunes or whatever.
Or maybe you'll see some even weirder mergers like pop up in the future.
It'll get real big, and then it'll implode upon itself when it doesn't work. And so you got to let it run its course. Give it a couple years; it'll be fine.
What the studios did is really smart if you think about it. They looked at Netflix and said, oh, yeah, right, like anybody could ever create a streaming service that people are going to pay money for and, watch enough for it to be profitable. I wonder how you would do that. They let Netflix build the whole business, prove that it's profitable, and then turn around and go, but wait a minute, we still own the content. We now know how to do what you do because we've been invited to the Netflix headquarters and seen what you do, so we're just going to go off and do our own thing. But you're right. Eventually, the amount of streaming services will become untenable, and some of them will die off, and they'll come crawling back to whoever's in charge then.
Yep.
Whether it's Netflix or Comcast VOD or whatever.
Taco Bell's going to win the franchise wars, baby.
Isn't that the plot of the movie where Terry Crews is the president that Taco Bell eventually...
No, you're thinking of Idiocracy. Taco Bell wins the franchise wars is Demolition Man, sir. Yes. Demolition Man is the one I was looking for.
Very good.
John, are you a fan of Mr. Bean?
Of course I am.
Okay, I'm going to hook you up. I'm going to give you a copy of Mr. Bean, The Whole Bean, the remastered 25th anniversary collection from our friends at Shout Factory.
Thanks, guys.
All right, I'm going to put you on hold. John on 4 there gets that.
That guy was very knowledgeable about technology.
He was.
Well, he is in the Silicon Valley area. Ryan in Connecticut, what's this about Amazon and Xbox?
Well, it's actually not just Amazon. There's a lot of reasons why those streaming services are getting harder to get across multiple platforms. But Amazon had a huge problem getting Amazon Prime on Xbox, and it's still having the same battle with getting it on through iTunes and like Apple TV. Droid has always been a little bit more open to it. But
well, I understand. I understand having a problem getting on Apple TV because it's a competing service to iTunes. So why would they put it on their service?
Well, they're doing and I agree, but they're doing the same thing with Xbox One. Like if you have Amazon Prime or Amazon Instant Video on Xbox One, but you can also possibly rent the same video through the Xbox Live services. It's not available through Prime. Like you can't watch it unless you log on to an additional device, rent it and/or buy it, or find the thing and add it to your queue. And then you can go onto your Xbox and watch it there. But they're actually blocking it, like on now that Roku is allowing for you to have subscription-based services, if you have the same thing available on Amazon Instant Video and Amazon Prime, you actually have to they just changed it recently for Star Trek, the latest Star Trek movie. They just changed it so that you had it because people were outraged that Amazon Prime finally made Into Darkness available for free, but they were charging $6 to rent it on Xbox One, and you weren't allowed to watch it on Xbox One through your Prime service.
Yeah, that's weird. Is that a licensing issue, or is that just they can't get the technology right?
No, I went around it myself, and I do it all the time.
Of course.
But, like, just recently we wanted to watch just The Goonies, which was, inexpensive, but it was $8 to rent through Xbox One, and $5 to rent, or $4 to rent through Amazon Prime, and you couldn't rent it through your Amazon Prime directly, or Amazon Instant Video directly on my Xbox. I actually had to log in on a laptop, rent it, add it to my queue, and then it popped up in my queue, and I was allowed to find it. But I couldn't even search it on my Xbox directly.
All right, I don't know what that's all about. If they're just butting heads, or if there's some kind of
It sounds like Microsoft is being kind of dickish.
You think?
Well, yeah,
Just saying.
it's the endpoint device that you're using.
Right.
They have their own store. They're restricting the access to that, and they're doing the same thing on Droid phones now with Google Play. You can't search it through the Amazon Prime or Instant Video app on Droid. If you can find it on Google Play, you can't do the same videos.
Okay. Ryan, thank you so much for calling in, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know what the Xbox thing. I know for a while, like with streaming, they were having a problem with certain streaming things. Like it took a while for Xbox One to get the WWE network, but that was more of a technical coding issue or something.
This just sounds like they're trying to make sure that you spend your money with them as opposed to with somebody else. That's all it is.
See, this is this is what I'm talking about. Everyone's going to get greedy, and yeah, you own the properties and you should make money, but I think you do better business as a collective in that sense, because that's just the way people are consuming things, and that's how they watch things. I think you're going to make more money and keep an audience and customer base in the long run by doing that than trying to go solo and say we're going to charge our own thing, and it's going to saturate the market.
And what's going to happen is people are going to pirate more. People are going to figure out the workarounds, legal or illegal, and
there'll be revolts too.
No one wins.
Like people just get mad, like when they did with Netflix, when Netflix was like increasing the prices, when they were like limiting what was going to be streaming. People were like up in arms, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to cancel this," and then Netflix changed their tune a little bit.
Well, of course. But you can't blame Netflix when they lose a movie.
No.
People have to understand that that's not Netflix 9 times out of 10. It's the studios pulling the movies back, or whoever owns a license,
or whatever country it's allowed to legally be watched.
Because it's almost like Netflix is renting it, right? So Netflix gets movie X for 12 months for $100, let's say, for the sake of conversation. Well, at the end of 12 months, they either have to pay the $100 again, or they lose the rights to stream that movie. Sometimes the studios jack the price. Sometimes the studios don't want to give it to Netflix again, and so.
Well, we can keep going on with the streaming stuff here. There's a lot of phone calls, but unfortunately, we're going to have to take a break. We're going to have Chris Elliott coming up next. We're going to talk to him about Schitt's Creek and some other projects that we all are fans of. Cabin Boy, and Get a Life.
Cabin Boy.
And I was also a fan, too. When I was 14, I used to sneak into late night with David Letterman with my dad all the time, because you had to be 16 to go. But when you show up with your dad, they're not going to question you.
Right.
But I used to go there all the time, and Chris Elliott used to come out, used to be a writer, performer for late night and just do weird shit. So that's where I first found him. And then, because my mom hated Get a Life, of course, it's going to be my favorite show. And so we'll talk to him. We're going to have Brian Lynch probably a little bit after the hour there. And, of course, Rosie McIver. McIver. Got it. McIver. From the CW's iZombie, we're going to talk to her a little bit later in the program as well. We still have Mr. Bean stuff to give away.
Yay.
We got to work in at some point. We got to talk about the reboot of Poltergeist and this new movie, Pixels.
We have to talk about Pixels.
Pixels is ridiculous.
Have you seen the trailer for Pixels?
I'm very angry because I was like, oh, that was a Futurama bit when they did the anthology of interest where the space aliens attack. It just didn't have the cast of grown-ups in it.
Thank you for saying that, because it's exactly what I thought.
The first thing I thought, as soon as I saw it, I was like, this is just Futurama.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back here on It's Erik Nagel.
Erik Nagel. You know, E-Rock? Well, he'll be right back. It's Erik Nagel.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know my next guest here from countless television, movie, and various other projects. If you're a fan of comedy, there's no excuse not to know this gentleman. Please welcome Mr. Chris Elliott.
Thank you. Hi, Erik.
Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you again.
You look amazing.
Oh, thank you. Get your eyes off me.
It's really hard to do.
I know. Me too. I can't stop looking at myself in that reflection behind you.
It's quite a sight to see.
I've lost some weight.
You have.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing.
No,
I'm
it's
not
a
saying
good thing.
you were fat
I've
before.
been trying to do it.
We were actually talking about your weight loss and possible weight gain on the show I work, Opie and Jimmy.
Right.
We were talking about Schitt's Creek, and we had saw a few of the episodes in advance.
Right.
And I was trying to tell Jimmy that he loves your character. You're rolling shit, the mayor. But I was trying to explain to him that gut wasn't real.
Right.
And he's like, no, I think maybe he did it for the role. I said, no, it's not. Because it's purposely a beer gut. But a lot of those beer guts always come up like when somebody hasn't eaten much, so it sticks out straight.
Yeah.
But yours sags down over your crotch.
That's a really subtle distinction
Right.
that you saw there, but that's absolutely true. But there is some, it is padding for
Right.
me. This is the first role I've ever had where I've had to be padded to look fat, which I'm proud of. But there is that sort of physique of just that sort of round belly and
Right.
then really thin legs and a really thin face.
They
which is
portrayed
sort
it
of how
very
I
well
play.
on King of the Hill, Dale Gribble. Was the guy who's so skinny, but he had the pot belly
Right.
that came straight out.
Right, and it's usually kind of hard.
Right,
too,
yeah.
just like.
But yours was hanging down, and
Right.
and Jim was like, "You sure?" I said, "The reason you can tell it's fake, not that you couldn't tell." One was, I said, I saw some of the press clips that you did for the show, and he looks in great condition. But the other was, there's a scene where there's a fondue dinner going on,
Yeah.
and you have your hand in the pot.
Right.
But the way the angle is, your belly is laying on the plate and on the table, and I'm like, it's moving with him. If that was real, it would be in one position. It's
right.
it's waving around.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it was actually a pillow, and there are some shots I think they had to edit around it where I was sitting and it just looked like a sofa on me. It just the folds didn't quite fit right. So I think for season 2 they're going to have a special one made for me. We were just kind of experimenting. But when we did the pilot, I was heavy, and then I lost all this weight, and I showed up for to wardrobe to start for the series, and Eugene wasn't happy with my weight loss, and so he's the one that wanted, me to pad myself. So.
Right. Well, first of all, there's a season 2. That's great.
We are going to do up in Canada for the CBC has picked us up. Yeah,
that is so
season.
awesome.
Yeah,
because right now the show, for those who don't know, it's called Schitt's Creek. It's on Pop TV, poptv.com, so you can find out what channel exactly it is on your cable provider or your satellite there.
Right.
It used to be the TV Guide channel.
Right.
So if you're looking for the show, Wednesdays at 11 p.m., poptv.com, go and look for the thing there. So season 2 is great. What I think you should do, not that I have any right to tell you what to do,
no,
but
I
what
could
you
use as much advice as possible.
What you
please.
should do maybe is just constantly have the stomach doing weird things in weird positions, but never address it. Like it's hanging to the left this time, it's hanging over here.
Right.
And just never acknowledge that the thing is moving.
Right. Sometimes it's in my back.
Right.
It's just a back fat.
Yeah.
In the back. Yeah. No, that would be, well, I'll bring that up. I'll do that. The worst idea I've ever heard in my life. But yeah, thank you, Erik, for that.
The show was written by Dan Levy, who's Eugene Levy's son. It's about a very rich, posh family that, through bad business decisions and trusting the wrong people, lost their fortune, but wound up discovering that they really owned this podunk town in the middle of nowhere that the government didn't even deem worthy of seizing to collect assets from. They said, no, you can keep that. And they wound up having to move to this town.
It's the only place they can afford to live. The father, Eugene Levy, had actually bought the town as a joke because of its name, Schitt's Creek. And then I'm the mayor of Schitt's Creek, Roland Shit.
The episode I think is going to draw a lot of buzz for the show is the one with the town sign.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Because every time you look at this and the way they handle it and the way they try to fix it just makes it worse and worse.
Right, right.
It's an old school visual style gag that isn't cheesy or hacky.
Yeah, that's sort of the theme of the show. It's a kind of a throwback to, TV shows from a different era, in my estimation. And I'm going to say sort of TV shows, I guess, in a way like Green Acres, except with this new sort of take on it where you believe these characters. They're not, fake. You sort of everything. All the characters are grounded in reality. Green Acres, they were all Mr. Haney and all these people were goofy.
And a
cartoons.
talking pig.
Yeah, they were cartoons. But this is sort of the opposite in a way, but still kind of a throwback to just a half an hour of pure just comedy, just laughs. It's not we're not trying to have a message or not trying to say anything about anything. It's just character driven comedy.
Right. The kids in the show, the characters that they portray, 15 to 20 years ago, if you did in the 90s, like say Clueless, those characters were big exaggerations of themselves.
Right.
But the way they're portraying it now, you would think 20 years ago, this is a gross exaggeration, really is how a lot of people are, and they're nailing it.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah,
the kids have gotten kind of worse in that way.
Right, it's that whole kind of like Kim Kardashian, Paris Hilton kind of culture.
Yeah, it's definitely the reality TV, influence there,
and it doesn't seem ridiculous.
No, that's the key to this show is that this family, these 4 people, the family name is the Roses in the show. They haven't dealt with each other as a family They're so rich that any problem, they've just had to throw money at the problem to solve it. And then now that they don't have that anymore, they have to actually try to deal with each other as a family and as real people.
Right.
And they've never done that.
The diner scenes are very funny too.
Yeah.
When they're like, "Oh, I find this place cute and charming," and he goes, "I find this place utterly repulsive."
Right.
But it didn't miss a beat. There was no sarcasm. It was straight conversation, and you're like,
Right.
this is something that person would say.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's relatable in that way. It's great that you saw that too, that, they're not cartoon characters.
And the fact that also that if you're really paying attention to not just what they're saying, but how they're saying things to each other as far as the family, is really brutal. It's really brutal, but hysterical at the same time, because that's only the kind of thing that a family member could say to another family member. Because if somebody else said that to you, you'd punch him in the face.
Right.
But if your son's saying that to you, Eugene just kind of bucks up. He goes, "No, you're going to go in there and help your mother." Meanwhile, he just said some of the most horrific shit to him.
Right.
And he's like, "Nope, you're going to get in there."
Washes over him completely.
And then the kid's just like, "Oh, Dad told me to do it. I'm going to go do it."
Right,
and stomps off in a huff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in a way, on a different level, I guess, but that's sort of the way Eugene and Dan actually deal with each other on the set. They both created this show together, and it's sort of fun to watch them work on the set because they have this kind of shorthand where they can just look at each other and, look at each other's eyebrows basically, and they know what the other person is thinking, and they don't have to worry about hurting each other's feelings because of what you just said. They could say the worst things to each other if they wanted to, and they would just be, all right, whatever,
They were up on Opie and Jimmy not too long ago, and for father and son, they really come off like an old vaudeville team.
Yeah.
They just play, nobody looks twice at each other, and it's very dry, but very sharp and to the point with their attacks.
Yeah.
And then they don't even sit and wait for the response. They keep moving.
No, it's like like jazz.
You were playing Roland Shit, whose family pretty much developed the town, and you're the current mayor of the town here. Doing this character, do you and having so much experience from comedy writing and improv and all the things that you've done from the old days of Late Night with Letterman all the way up to now, do you have much input as far as what your character's doing, or do you have so much faith that you go straight by the script of what they're writing?
Well, there isn't a lot of improv done but on the set, just because we have to sort of, get through the work during the day.
Right.
But this was a character that apparently Eugene had me in mind for from the start. So they kind of wrote it with my voice in mind. So it really kind of fit like a glove for me. I mean, there's definitely, you play around with a line here and there. You play around with timing here and there when you're rehearsing it. But in general, there isn't much I have to bring to the written stuff. It's all on the page.
You have the unique knack of being portrayed in some horrible characters, but they're very likable no matter how disgusting they are.
Well, that's good to hear.
Like in something about Mary, when you had the breakouts and everything like that.
Yeah.
Everybody still wanted to see you. They were grossed out, but they're like, I still love this guy because he's clueless that he can't let this person go.
There is a running thing in all the characters that I've played, I think, and now that I'm 54 and I look back and look at it, I realize that they're all similar. They're all sort of the same guy, and maybe that's just what I bring to it. I bring a lot of me to it, and
that's what I was gonna say. Is that you? Like when you're not performing?
I
some of those traits. Does it just come off as you being you?
I think it's what makes me laugh. That it's like the idiotic way certain people act makes me laugh, and I think that's the way I like to cash in on that when that's hopefully not the way I act in real life.
One of the things you said, what makes you laugh? One of the things that makes me laugh with all the roles that you have done. When I was younger, 14 through 16, I used to get tickets and sneak into Late Night all the time with my dad. And every now and then you would be on there. One particular time you were on the couch with Dave there, and you're teaching him about something about self-defense, all right? But the terminology you used was so not tough.
Right.
When you said, for when the huckleberries come out, and the no good nicks.
Right.
And my dad's not getting it, but I'm laughing my ass off because I'm like, that's not shit talking,
right,
you know?
right.
And then all of a sudden a guy who in a pea suit's running through the audience throwing peas, you know, just how
Right.
great
I remember doing that. That
was
was sort of like a Guardian Angels kind of thing that I was starting. I think, my own like Guardian Angels, and it was like I was telling him, yeah, when the Huckleberries come up to you like this, I think I may have heard Curtis Sliwa at some point say Huckleberry on the air.
But you just had a way with words because you could take something and totally. It wasn't even dissecting the character; it was destroying what you were going for just because you used the wrong terminology on purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think, the idea of me pretending to be something else or wishing I was something else is sort of another theme with the characters that I play. I think they all wish they were something else, but haven't put in the work to really know what that should be or how to do it.
I also remember you used to do a lot of impressions too. You do the prosthetics,
yeah,
and you'd come out as Leno or Marv Albert.
I did,
and then you had other weird, unique characters, just the guy under the stairs,
right?
You know,
I did Marlon Brando. I did Morton Downey Jr. I did. There used to be this guy in New York. I used to love public access TV in New York, and Adam Resnick and I wrote a lot of stuff together for Letterman. There was this cabaret singer there named John Wolowich and you could call in to him and make requests. And he was always, he was this cabaret guy, wore a bow tie and big glasses, and he was at a piano that had a picture of Betty Davis on the piano and a little jar with money in it, and every now and then a hand would come in and put a dollar bill and out of off frame into the jar. But he was always singing, getting requests for Jerome Kern songs or something like that. But you could get on. It was a weird thing. You could call him, and you could be put on a party line with him. And Adam, who lived in the building next door to me, we would both call at the same time and get on the party line. And instead of asking requests, we would just talk to each other in front of this guy. and we would be talking about
the conversation.
We were talking about late night and just like, yeah, what did you think Dave thought about the show tonight? I don't know. Yeah, I thought it went good or whatever. And then John Wolowich at the piano would go, okay, I guess it's a full moon tonight. I don't know what the wackos are out tonight.
Trying to make it about him because it's supposed to be about
right
him.
here. Yeah.
And then you're pushing him out. No, we're having a conversation.
Yeah, John, we'll get to you in a second. And we're just talking to him. But and I ended up doing that guy on the show. Yeah, I did a lot of that, character work, but it was always me sort of being this character. You always knew it was Chris Elliott as Marlon Brando.
But I think at least I'm hoping that's what you were going for.
It is. I mean, and it was also kind of a safety net for me because I never had to be that good.
Because sometimes it seemed like I think he's purposely trying to make this impression bad.
Well, it's also because I wasn't that good at impersonations, so I could come out and get laughs by doing a bad impersonation.
Right.
But it was this Chris Elliott persona who desperately wanted to be a star, so he was doing the impersonation.
A lot of the characters that you've written and a lot of the characters that you've had stuff written for, do you try to make sure that the character's name is Chris? Because you have a lot of characters named Chris in various projects.
If it's something that I've initiated or somebody else for me has initiated, generally, yeah, but not so much lately. But back in the day when I was starting to branch out from late night and all during late night, yeah, definitely, because it was a way to sort of establish myself. It started on late night. I would make sure my name would have to be announced, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Elliott, even though I was coming out as somebody else.
Yeah.
Because somehow I thought, okay, that's a way to get my name out there. And I think it kind of worked in a weird way. It was it was really intentional and very manipulative on my part.
Because you're Chris in Eagleheart on Adult Swim.
Right.
But I think my favorite Chris character of yours was Chris Peterson on Get a Life.
Right.
Are you surprised that there's so many people that still remember and love that show?
I'm not surprised anymore. I am so gratified by it. When the show came out, just like with Cabin Boy, it was a little different. Get a Life was not as reviled as Cabin Boy was, but Get a Life only did a season and a half. Cabin Boy was terribly reviled and badly reviewed and killed my career for a few years. And yet both projects I think I am associated the most with and have the most fans for because through the years they've developed these cult followings.
If I'm remembering right, was Get a Life on Sunday nights on Fox?
Yeah, after In Living Color.
Okay, and before Married with Children.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I knew.
Was it before or was
In
it
Living
after?
Color, I think was 8,
or was it 1? Yeah. I
And
can't
Married
remember,
with
but it was
Children
right
was
around
9,
that
so,
time.
right.
Yeah.
I knew. This is when I knew that not only did I like the show, but this show was for me. Is because 1 or 2 episodes, my mom would see me watching it.
and she's just like, oh, I can't stand him.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, this is definitely the show for me.
Right.
I loved Get a Life. I think, people who are fans of this show, especially the ones growing up in the 90s and stuff, all have their favorite episodes and all ask you about what your favorite parts were of that show. But I think the submarine in the bathroom,
that's one of my favorite shows
is one
too.
of the best.
Yeah.
And the alien that would just throw up
Spewy.
everywhere.
Yeah. And the Spewy was great. I think, I know for me, the Zoo Animals on Wheels episode was my favorite, and there were a few there. The construction worker show was a big one, and the male modeling show,
right,
was sort of the of the thunderball of,
where you were purposely sticking out the gut.
Right, yeah. I mean, how the James Bond franchise, it really took, it was, up until Goldfinger really established the brand of and I think of Bond movies, and I think the male model show really established what Get a Life was. But in terms of your mom saying, ugh, I can't stand this show, I remember getting out of a car once when we were shooting Get a Life, and it was halfway through the season or whatever it had aired, and somebody recognizing me, and I was with my daughter Abby was very little at the time, and my wife, and I remember they're saying, oh, hey, there's that guy from that show I hate. Yes, I remember Abby going, what do they say, Daddy? And just, nothing, honey, nothing.
And now, this is going to sound like old man speak, but I think back then that was the meter that kids used to use to rate that this is the show I need to watch, and this is how I know it's funny.
That's what you were saying.
Because a lot of the stuff I used to watch as a kid that were meant for adults, my mom didn't like.
Right.
Like, she didn't like It's Gary Shandling.
Right.
She hated Married with Children. She didn't like your show.
Yeah.
And she hated Beavis and Butthead.
Right.
So every time she's like, how do you watch this? I'm like, because you hate it. I know this is for me. Right. How great was it to work with your dad?
It was great, and I see the same thing happening with Eugene and his son on Schitt's Creek. I mean, it's... at first, it was a little nerve-wracking to have my dad on the set because it's hard work, and I was worried about him and all that. And it's also I act a little different around my dad. I'm a little more polite.
Well, you wrote great parts
people.
Because all he had to do was either grab a beer or he was sitting in that recliner the whole time.
Yeah, he was just sitting in his bathrobe the whole time.
Yeah.
Which it was my suggestion that they wear pajamas all the time because I wanted him to be comfortable.
Right.
While we shoot. I think when we finished the pilot. Writing the pilot, it came around to casting, and I remember while we were writing it, thinking that we were just writing it in my dad's voice, and then casting came around, and Fox said, "So who should we get to play your dad?" And I remember, what kind of question is that? Of course, it's going to be my dad. Yeah.
For those who don't know, your dad is Bob Elliott, part of the infamous Bob and Ray comedy duo.
Right.
They started in radio and did television stuff for 4 or 5 decades, right?
At least.
Yeah. And to have him as your father on the show is amazing because, like you said, who should you cast for your dad? You have a comic legend in your family.
Right.
Why would I not?
Why would I go?
That's like somebody asking Rob Reiner, do you know anybody that could maybe that knows how to write a show or a movie?
No, it's true. And I realized that when I remember while we were writing the pilot thinking, oh, I'm definitely going to have my dad play an uncle or something on the show. And then it came to casting and I was like, well, yeah, of course.
Because him yelling at you and him being disappointed you in the show seemed very authentic.
Right. No, and somebody was pointing out, lines from him just like, Chris, I don't have time to talk to you and drink coffee at the same time.
That's a dad line.
Like, yeah, that's just...
I just got home. Give me 10 minutes, then I'll deal with you.
Right.
So that's great. You got to work with your dad. Like I said, he started off in radio there. Did you ever have any aspirations for radio? I know you went right into TV and writing and stuff.
My opportunities were in television right away. And I think I always, in the back of my mind, thought I'm going into the general business of my father. I should try to do something a little different than what he's done. And the other aspect, and this is absolutely true, I've never liked my voice. And I'm not good at voiceovers. I'm not good at animated things. I've done a couple, and You've
done SpongeBob,
and I've done that. Did do SpongeBob. It's something I need. I think I'm a physical kind of actor. I need to be moving around. I need people to see me doing something physically to be funny. I don't think my voice does it. My dad did. His voice was just like. He could be a lilting, beautiful announcer, old school announcer voice, and at the same time do wonderful character voices.
So you got the chance to work with your dad. How many opportunities have you got to work with your daughter, Abby? Because you both were on the same series, but never together. You were on How I Met Your Mother.
Right.
And then you were on Saturday Night Live for a little bit. And then she did about 4 years, I think, on Saturday Night Live as well. And she was the first second generation cast member
right.
for Saturday Night Live. So your family lineage is amazing.
Cast member, but third generation because my dad had been on SNL a couple of times and did a special, Bob and Ray, Gilda, Lorraine, and Jane, with the whole SNL group, but it was a special Bob and Ray special.
Okay.
So it's almost really third generation when Abby did it. I did a small part in a movie that she's starring in that we shot last summer. And we're talking about trying to do something together with Abby and with my other daughter, Bridie, who's also really funny. And
she's coming up now, too.
She is, yeah. I think she's, she loves writing and she's so funny, but both of them, I'm blown away. It's like Eugene, I seeing his son, Dan, on this show, and I can see him, he's on cloud nine. He's
right.
like, what dad wouldn't be more proud of this kind of situation? And I couldn't be more proud of my kids, and I guess my dad couldn't be more proud of me.
You worked hard, you made your bones, and now, you've had success, and now you have the opportunity to help your kids do it while you're doing it as well. I mean, it's
hard.
Feeling.
It's a hard business. You can't really help anybody in this business anymore. And
right.
I saw Bill Murray once, talking about how, who can really do a favor for anybody in this business. And I was thinking about that. You can't really. It's really hard to now. Like when Abby got cast on Saturday Night Live, I didn't even know she had been auditioning. She had been sending in tapes to Saturday Night Live. And it's not like
surprise.
Yeah. I mean, she did that on her own. It's not like I could have called and said, hey, hire my daughter.
Right.
I would love to have been able to do that, but you can't, and there's so much competition out there right now with, the internet and all the different venues and comedy venues that are around and cable. And it's on the one hand, great that there's all these places to try out stuff. And then on the other hand, there's a lot of competition and
right.
a lot of people out there. So it's a tough business. It's extra tough on women too.
You mentioned Cabin Boy earlier, and you've had the fortune and based on what you said, misfortune of being in a couple of movies that have such cult status that you'll forever be remembered. One is Groundhog Day, which is, I don't know anybody that doesn't love that movie.
Right.
And
right.
then you have Cabin Boy, which you said either people love it or hate it.
Right.
And also Something About Mary is another movie that everybody loves there. You seem to land these projects, good or bad, you're just always going to be remembered for your work.
Well, that's really nice to hear. I mean, I hope so. I hope more for the good than the bad. But
right.
That has been the thing with me from the start with Dave Letterman. Even fans of Late Night, there were people that hated it when I showed up, and there were people
that loved it. Yeah.
And it was always one or the other. I've never had people in between. Never.
You seem to have you seem to have the people who hated it were not the audience you were going for, or not the audience that needed to be there.
No, they were sort of the people I was, poking fun at.
Right.
In a weird way. I mean, I can remember walking down the street and having somebody come up to me. I told you this story about Get a Life, but I remember in New York, somebody coming up to me when I was on Letterman, just saying, "Oh, hi, you're Chris Elliott." And I go, "Yeah." And he said, "I don't like what you do." And I remember just saying thank you to him.
Did you think like this guy's going to hit me or something?
No. Well, he was weird, but I didn't think that. But I remember thanking him. I said thank you, and it took him totally by surprise.
Got a reaction.
Yeah, he said, "No, you don't understand what I'm saying. I don't like what you're doing." And I said, "No, I know. Thank you."
You're still watching it.
Yeah, exactly. But thank you for not liking me. I don't care.
Over the years of all the different projects, I imagine you get people who remember you from Letterman, from
Get a Life,
Cabin Boy, and Groundhog's Day. Are you seeing another layer of a new generation of fans from doing Eagle Heart on Adult Swim?
I guess so. I mean, it that has a very specific cult audience,
college
over
to
there.
Early mid-20s.
Sure, that audience necessarily remembers exactly what they were watching the night before when they wake up. So I think it takes a little longer to sink in with that crowd. But it's cyclical, and it depends on what you're doing and how visible it is and all that with me. And also, I do look very different in everything that I do these days. And I don't know. I also. It's not something I told you that I used to try to get my name mentioned all the time because I was seriously trying to become famous when I was younger in my 20s. And I don't sort of feel that urge anymore or that need for that kind of feedback. For me, it's really just about, I know this sounds corny, but it's about the work. And the work I'm doing with Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara, to me, is some of the best work I've ever done, and it's also just so much fun, and that's at my age at this point that I couldn't ask for a better job in the world.
Obviously, the show Schitt's Creek, 13 episodes. It's on the Pop Network, poptv.com to find out where it is on your cable or satellite provider. Wednesdays at 11 p.m. What is out there that you still want to do?
If Schitt's Creek went for 10 years, I would be happy. I've never done a half-hour comedy show that has lasted more than 2 seasons, other than being kind of a recurring character on some. I would love to have that experience of just, taking a character.
Money.
Well, that's the underlying thing, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But also just to grow a character on a show,
right,
and have it change a little bit from season to season, have an arc over 5 years and see what happens with that. That to me is the ideal job. And at my age right now, that would be wonderful.
So TV, movies, you've done it, whether that happens or not.
Yeah.
You have
you mean something outside of all of this?
You've got a tremendous body of work. Is there something that you still want to do with your life? Do you want to write a book? Do you want to travel?
I've written books. I probably do not ever want to write another book again. I can travel, I guess, when I want to, or when I need to, or whatever. There is creatively, I guess, it sounds stupid. Maybe I'd like to do a play for the hell of it at some point and see what that's like.
Really?
But,
have you done theater?
No. Are you kidding? And honestly, I just said that to have something to say. I would never do it. Can you imagine we're having to go in every single day and do that?
Great bit would be just to knock on the doors at all the theaters here. It's like, you got anything open?
Yeah.
Is somebody out tonight?
Yeah,
Can
hey,
I just
fellas,
step in?
Hey, fellas, why don't I just come in and do this for you? I'll knock it out of the park. Just give me a shot.
Tell Larry David he can take the day off. I'll do the monologue.
No, I think every actor, and I'm pretty cynical as far as being an actor, but I think everybody deep down says they'd love to do Broadway at some point.
Before you go, Letterman's wrapping up.
Yeah.
In a few months. Do you have any plans to do anything for the finale? Like you're going to be there the final month, week?
I did my last appearance last night on the show.
And that's it?
That's it. Oh. Yeah, that's it. I mean, at least my last guest shot. I don't know what their plans are for closing off the show, and I do have to go up to Canada where we shoot Schitt's Creek beginning of April and start that.
Well, Chris, I wish you nothing but the best, and I got to tell you, I've interviewed a lot of people, and you're probably one of the coolest, nicest guys that I've got to chance to talk to. You're very open. There was no roadblock there. There was no like, I don't think I can talk about this with this guy.
Well, you didn't bring up anything I couldn't talk about. You're great. Thanks, Erik. That means a lot. Well,
Eagles Creek. I'm getting both shows mixed together.
Okay.
That's Eagles
That would
Heart.
be a great show.
Yeah.
Eagles Creek.
What if your marshal just walked in and tried to arrest somebody? It's like, wait, what?
Well, that's in year 10.
Yeah.
We'll start weaving.
The show is Schitt's Creek. poptv.com to find out what channel it is on your cable and satellite provider. Wednesday nights on the Pop Network at 11 p.m. You play the mayor, Roland Schitt, of the famous Schitt family that owns the town. Definitely check this out. Look for the episode with the town sign. It's definitely one of those things. You know what that is? That's your WKRP turkey moment.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that is. So
I think that's episode 3.
Right.
Yeah.
So when they go and look back at that show and like, oh, right, the sign. Chris, thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate it.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, Erik.
It's Erik Nagel.
And here we are. Loot Crate, Matt.
How's it going?
Good. We're in a commercial break. Loot Crate. It's all these cool things that you get every month. I've been a subscriber for a long time about this thing, and I was talking about it long before they even were sponsoring this program and the Opie radio channel. All kinds of cool stuff like intergalactic spaceships and comic book supervillains, fire-breathing. I haven't seen a fire-breathing dragon yet, so it might be telling of something to come soon.
Maybe they're counting something Funko Pop related.
I hope so. But if you're looking for the perfect gift for that geek in your life, I hate the term geek, but for somebody in your life who likes this kind of stuff.
We have to talk about that one day.
You
have a problem with that, and you shouldn't.
It just bothers me because I think it's belittling.
It's a good word.
Not.
For the person in your life that likes all this kind of cool stuff, and then you should be more like them, or just want to treat yourself to something fun and exciting every month, go to lootcrate.com. That's lootcrate.com. It's the ultimate monthly service for geeks, gamers, and pop culture fanatics.
You have a lot of
I know what it is, and I know what the tune, but I just think there's probably a better way we can use that.
Sign up today, and you're terrible. Sign up today, and for less than $20 a month, Loot Crate will send you a specially themed mystery box filled with hand-picked apparel, collectibles, and licensed gear from all of your favorite franchises like Marvel, The Walking Dead, Star Wars, Game of Thrones, and more. I like the "and more." That's the mystery. That's the excitement.
That's why you subscribe.
Hell yeah! Each month's box features a new theme inspired by movies, TV shows, and video games.
And this month's theme is Covert.
Yes.
And it celebrates the secret agents, conspiracies, and double crosses of your favorite spy and thriller franchises. Uncover exclusive items from Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which just took a great heel turn.
Hell yes.
If you're not watching that show, you definitely need to catch up. And Orphan Black, which comes back soon for season 3. You should check that out. It's on BBC America, but I'm sure it's on demand. Why am I plugging other things in the middle of a plug? But Orphan Black, and it's all part of this month's box. Go to lootcrate.com/Opie right now to sign up. And for a limited time, you use the promo code Opie at checkout, and you'll save $3 off a brand new subscription. So go to lootcrate.com/Opie right now. That's lootcrate.com/Opie. Promo code Opie.
It's Erik Nagel. Erik and Matt are back.
We're back. It's Erik Nagel, 866-969-1969. If you don't know that music, I don't know where the hell you've been. Of course, that's the infamous mall scene from Bill and Ted.
It is.
So good. I love that song, and I had to play it to bring Brian Lynch onto the show here. Brian, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you guys?
We're doing good. Brian is responsible for the most triumphant return of Bill and Ted in comic book form.
Just in comic book form, though.
Just in comic book
form.
For
now. Don't limit yourself.
No, I get down on myself a lot. I'm a writer, so I kind of have to just assume that this is all it's going to be. But, yeah, I'm doing the 6-issue miniseries that continues the Bill and Ted adventures.
This is so cool, because this could lead to bigger and better things.
Of course.
For me or for Bill and Ted?
For both.
I hope so. I think Bill and Ted are getting their own sequel without me. But if anything...
But that's been in the works for so long, this might be the jumpstart that it needs, where your stories reinvigorate people into Bill and Ted's. It moves the movie forward, it moves your sales forward, merchandising, etc.
That would be fun. You know, and I think everyone is surprised, except for the fans of Bill and Ted, how big the comic got this quickly, because no one expected it, and everybody, but except for the fans, and there's a ton of them, and hopefully some executives paying attention and going, well, I guess the movie will bring people in. So.
Well, I know the comic book's doing very well if you follow Alex Winter's Twitter, where he's apparently reading it everywhere he goes.
Yes, he's been a very big supporter. That's pretty amazing to have the lead of your comic holding it in public. It's pretty awesome.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's just that I didn't know they sent him a copy before it came out. Because I'm glad I didn't know, because I wouldn't have slept, because I'd be worried that he's like, well, I'd never say that. And then he just tweeted one day, hey, I read it. I loved it. You guys nailed it. I'm like, oh, my God. Like, I was driving, and I was like, almost drove off the road. It was awesome. Yes, I was checking Twitter while I was driving.
That's all right. You're a reckless man, Brian.
I would imagine, though, if a cop pulled me over, I would say, look, Alex Winter likes my comic book, and cops let you off for that kind of stuff.
I think so.
Mm-hmm. Think, oh, you scamp. Get out of here.
Well, listen, for those out there who haven't heard about the new book, Bill and Ted's Most Triumphant Return, give us an idea of what it's about.
Sure. It starts like 5 seconds after Bogus Journey. They are now the biggest band of all time. The entire world heard that one song they played, and the entire world wants to go, that song. They want to know what's next. They say, that song's great. What do you have next? It didn't really occur to Bill and Ted that there's going to be a second song they have to do. So now, with Death now joining the band, with their fathers, everybody's moving in their apartment, everybody in the world's watching them, people from the future are visiting them now, they have to write a second song, so they have basically a creative block. And at the same time, Ted is kind of bummed out that Dynamos tried to kill them, because they really like being liked, and now this one guy who he never even met them, wants them to die. So they jump forward into the future to read a history book to find out what their next song should be.
Well, let me ask a question, because you're saying it starts right after Bogus Journey.
Sure.
When they played the one song, they went into the future. They came back looking like ZZ Top. They're older dudes, and they're wearing Bjorns holding kids as they're playing God Gave Rock and Roll to You. Does the comic book start where they go back to their younger selves, or are they just there and you just bypass that?
They have the beards in the first couple pages. It is literally as they step off stage from that Battle of the Bands.
Wow.
And then
that's continuity.
They lose
that's
the
awesome.
facial hair really quickly because no one wants to see them like that for 6 issues. But, yeah, and then so they go in the future, and while they're in the future, they meet Denomalos as a teenager, and Ted sees it as their opportunity to prove to Denomalos, we're not that bad. Look, we're like you like us. It's the one person in the world that doesn't like us. If we change him, I'll feel better about myself. So they work with Denomalos, try to make his life better, but in doing so, they mess everything up. Like they mess up the future of the entire world, and then have to fix that.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that sounds kind of sad but fun at the same time.
There's low points, but they're never, They never get down. The world, it gets dark, but Bill and Ted never get dark.
Well, aside from the fact that it's got to be awesome writing Bill and Ted, and by the way, you nailed it in that first issue. I read it, and I loved it.
It goes downhill in 2 to 6. It's terrible.
How is it writing Rufus? I mean, that's got to be kind of daunting in a weird way. You're writing George Carlin. Really.
Yeah, oh no, it's intimidating. It was, I asked the editors, the first thing I asked them, if we're going to include the character in that. And of course, you kind of have to, because that's their cheerleader. That's the one guy in the world that from the beginning said, you guys aren't losers. Like,
he also said you got to dial one number higher.
One number higher. So yeah, you need him. You need that voice of reason, and you need George Carlin in a Bill and Ted comic, or it's going to be felt. Like the absence will be felt. And I'd assume when they do the third movie, his absence will be part of the problem they have to overcome. I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't know anything about the third movie, but so yeah, it was incredibly intimidating to write to write any scene with George Carlin's character. I just kept rewriting it till it felt right, and I think it came out pretty good. I think he's got some big moments, and fans of that character will be very happy.
With including Rufus in the stories here, did you have to clear anything with Carlin's family as far as his likeness?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think everyone in the movie signed that away a while ago. So they had to check the likeness, which is really cool. Like the Ghostbusters comics, which are amazing, they can't use the likenesses of the characters. We were able to. We can make it look as much as we want to. So I guess they cleared that up a long time ago. I guess so, because Alex Winter was super happy about it. He wasn't like, you guys should have given me red hair, so everyone got me.
So aside from Bill and Ted's Most Triumphant Return, issue 1 just came out this week. It's monthly, I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Let's talk Monster Motors.
Oh, yes, we should.
Because I'm assuming that some people may have checked out Bill and Ted's, but they might not know about Monster Motors. I've been a fan since the first graphic novel came out. Was it a graphic novel? How would we classify that?
It's a big hard, like one of those like Dark Knight, like thicker cover.
Right.
40-page one-shot. The first issue was.
And now the second series is out. How many issues are in the second series?
2 issues in the second series.
Okay. So give us an idea, because I was trying to explain Monster Motors to the gentleman here in the studio with me tonight, and I feel like I wasn't doing it quite right.
Can I tell Brian what I thought Monster Motors was?
Yes, go for it.
Okay, so he's telling me it involves classic monsters, and with the Motors tie-in, I thought it was more like Turbo Teen, where you'd throw water on these monsters and they turn into classic cars.
Turbo Teen was amazing.
Well, I mean, if I had thought of that, no, it's reinventing every monster that you grew up loving as a certain kind of car or truck. And following the logic of that, it's like, what if a car was Dracula? Well, he would suck gas to live. He would suck the gas out of cars and kill them, and his name would be Cadillacula. And the more gas he sucked out of the car, the more powerful he'd get. It's that kind of thing. If Frankenstein was a truck, that would make the doctor, the guy who created, he's actually Frankenstein. If Victor Frankenstein, he'd have to be a mechanic. And he creates a truck out of all these dead pieces of old trucks in a junkyard and stitches together this giant green monster truck that's fully electric.
Frankenride.
There's a Lagoon Buggy. There's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hybrid. There's Mini Van Helsing. It's basically like, somebody reviewed it as the best 80s kids cartoon that was never made.
Oh, that's a great way.
That's a great review.
Way. Because the one thing I wanted to say about it, and actually I guess Bill and Ted's kind of falls in this category too, but I like that it's family friendly. Sure. I like that it's all ages because, as you know, Brian, there's so many controversial things going on in comic books these days, and there are so many books that have gone so dark that it's hard to find books, I think, that can really hit multiple age groups, and I think Monster Motors definitely is comfortable in that. So
Yeah, the goal was to make a book that like my 10-year-old could read, 9-year-old could read, but then like if you read it, you wouldn't be annoyed by it. Like it's not the Smurfs. It's kind of cool. It's just they don't curse and there's no blood, but it's still basically I want to do Ghostbusters, a Ghostbusters tone to it. And I hope I got that. I think I did. It's one of those ones that I used money from my screenwriting career to fund it, so I could maintain the rights. And it was pretty cool. As when I gave it to certain people that I've been working with in movies, it got optioned. So
nice.
Hopefully, it'll have a life beyond the comic book, and it's kind of neat. But if it's just the comic book, that's fantastic. It's still my favorite thing to work on. It always will be. But
I absolutely love it, and I recommend that everybody go out and grab it because it's definitely a fun read, and it's definitely got a nice bit of nostalgia in there too. And it's easy. It's an easy good read. So definitely people should check that out.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Of course.
And I totally agree.
I know. Oh, you.
Well, the artwork is really awesome in it, too, because Matt pulled it up on the screen because I hadn't heard of it, and it was pretty badass.
Yeah, that's Nick Roach, and he's done Transformers. He did New Warriors at Marvel. He is a genius. I'm so lucky to be working with him on this. And then Len O'Grady does the colors, and it's like every monster pops, and Tom Long does the lettering, because every vehicle has a different style of lettering just because they're all different monsters. Like we put a lot of thought into this, like a lot of heart, and I think it's kind of paying off. People seem to like it. It's just a matter of getting word out, so you can imagine how excited I am that you guys brought it up.
So is it the same artists that do the Bill and Ted comic, or no?
No, that's Jerry Gaylord, and he did a book called Fanboys vs. Zombies for Boom.
Cool.
And I asked him, I said, who's doing the book? Because when I was writing it, it all depends on the art. Like, the tone is decided on by the artist for me. If they went with a more realistic artist, then I'd go with a little more somber storyline. But if it's like a real cartoony, like real Ghostbusters feel, then I'd go a little more kiddie. And they told me Jerry Gaylord, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it. He's like kind of anime, full of energy, bright colors. Like, let's just go for the feel-good comic. So like you read it, and it counters the comic you just read where Blue Beetle gets his head shot off. Like, it's the antidote to that book. And by the way, I like that book, but this is not that.
Looking at this one cover here, I know you were making a lot of Ghostbusters comparisons, but the way that guy's hair is and the way the vehicle is drawn, it sort of looks like, remember the other Ghostbusters?
Yes.
Oh, no. You mean the
one with the monkey?
Yeah, the one with the monkey.
With Primeval as the bad guy.
Right.
No, don't say that.
That's not a bad thing. I'm just saying it's the art style sort of looks like that.
It's the cover of the Curse of Minnie Van Helsing, so you know.
Right on. I mean, that was kind of popular, right? That version of Ghostbusters.
I'm just saying artwork. I'm not saying story or content wise.
I know. I like the other Ghostbusters cartoon better. The Garfield Peter Venkman is my favorite.
Let's talk a little bit about films.
Yes.
Because you've done a couple of those too. Hop, of course, being well, it's Easter, Brian. It's a couple weeks before, so we got to throw the Hop plug out there.
It's really weird. I keep getting more fans on Twitter when it gets closer to Easter because I guess people are buying it and watching it. It's kind of interesting how that's happening. And I get residual checks around Easter every year now for the rest of my life, which is kind of awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're the Christmas story of Easter.
Yes, I am.
There you go.
You can give it up to me for Lent.
Okay. I will send you the check because you guys mentioned Monster Motors. You get it.
Nice.
Booyah.
All right. We have to talk about Minions, though.
Yes, this is a big deal.
It needs help because it's a little independent movie. So
yeah, right. No one knows about Minions. But my question for you about Minions. So, for those of you that don't know, Brian did you're the script that you wrote the script for the film. Is that
I wrote that? Yeah, I'm the only screenwriter on the Minions movie.
Okay. Did that spawn out of what you did for the ride? Because you worked on the ride too in Universal Studios, correct?
I did. Well, yeah. What happened was the same people that made Hop made Despicable Me, and when Hop was wrapping up, they're like, "Do you want to come into a meeting about the ride? Because we know you like to go on amusement park rides." And they said it very patronizingly, just like that. Brian, we know you like fun things, and so I went in and I had ideas for it, and they said, "Oh yeah, let's just have Brian write it and see how it goes." And they had a story because obviously they had a spine of the whole thing because Universal Parks knows rides better than I do in terms of the structure of stuff. And then I just kept adding to it. And at any point I figured they'd be like, "Thanks, Brian, we'll take it from here." But I just kept working on it. And I guess they discovered through that I was very good with the Minion characters in the Despicable Me world. And they said, "Do you want to think of ideas for a Minions movie?" And one of the ones that I thought of they liked, and we just kept working and working and working on that. And the executive producer, Chris Meledandri, added ideas, and the directors, Pierre and Kyle, threw stuff in. It was a great process, and it became, and we did it. It just kept. I kept waiting for someone to go, no, it's not happening. And we're done. The movie's out in July, so
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's good too. It's really funny.
Congratulations to you on that, because that's pretty huge. So
that's gigantic.
Yeah,
I hope so. I saw Big Hero 6, and the Minions trailer was before it, and that was my first time seeing anything with Minions that I've written, except for the ride, in front of an audience, and the reaction was like, okay, I can leave now. I don't have to wait for Big Hero 6. I'm done. Like, nothing in the movie is going to be the feeling that I just got here. So,
Brian, with writing for the new Minions, did you have any leeway as far as new character development, or did you have to pretty much go with this is the line that we're going to put out here? These are the people available, and this is who you have to write for.
Oh no, it was other than the Minions themselves, it was what ideas do you have? Who do you want to do? It was a lot of just figuring out the funniest, master for them to try to serve, and the funniest new characters for them. I was a big part of that, and that's what's so amazing. Like, you think when the movies get bigger profile or more money put in them, because I've done little independent movies too, that I'm going to get less control or less input. This one, I was there every day for 3 years. Like,
wow.
Yeah, and it was. I'm there when the people record the voices, and if Sandra Bullock goes, oh, what's a new line here? I'll give her 5 of them, and we'll start playing until it comes up with the one that she loves. And it's. I don't know if the writers are always there for the recordings either, and that's how Illumination and Universal do it. They want the best thing, and so the writers are there to make it good all throughout. And I hope it paid off. I mean, I got to hang out with Michael Keaton because he's in the movie. Like,
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's it. I hung out with him the week before the Oscars. Like, he still made time to come record like 4 lines to just pick up quick lines. And he's excited about it. He's like, oh, I hope they're in the sequel. I hope we get to do another one. Like, I hope we can bring this guy back. It's like he's excited about it. It's like Batman saying he likes the charger I wrote.
Having Batman in your quarter is pretty big. That's important, I would say.
I know, and Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You ever see Speed?
It's a little bus movie, right?
Right. And then Speed 2,
bus that couldn't slow down.
Like a boat. Everyone loves Speed 2.
Speed 2 was on a cruise ship.
Demolition Man earlier. Look, it's.
Of course, you got to.
there.
Anytime I can mention Demolition Man, I try to work those in there.
That's one of the most underrated movies ever.
Demolition Man is amazing.
Do you know how to use the shells?
I know how to use the shells because Sylvester Stallone answered it on an Ain't It Cool interview.
Did he really?
Yeah.
He was very general because he's like, I got to be honest, there's no real way to use them, but here's what I guess I kind of figured, and he explained it.
I'll have to seek that out.
I think what he explained was that you use 2 like chopsticks.
Yes.
And then the third one is to like that holds it open, then use the third one to clear it out.
Right.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah.
That sounds like an awful experience.
I would rather just curse and get all the tickets and then wipe my butt with it.
I would just scoot across the carpet.
Like a dog.
Yeah.
You'd be the best character in the movie if it just cut to someone in the background scooting across.
And they just never address why I'm doing it.
Just always in the background, just scooting.
With writing for the Minions movie, and let's jump ahead a little bit because obviously it's going to do well, and then it'll do even better as far as merchandising and fast food tie-ins and what have you. Will you then have a hand where the Minions ride is a big deal at Universal Studios, both in Florida and Orlando, and it's sort of like its own little mini movie where the audience is participating in it. So if they're incorporating all the new stuff, which I'm sure they will, and probably in about a year or 2 years from now,
that'd be cool.
Are you going to be? Do you think maybe you get a hand in writing that?
I would love to. This work experience with Illumination has been one of my favorites of all time. Like, these guys are so fun, and like they're so inclusive. Like, I hope so. I mean, I would do whatever they want me to do. I mean, I hope so. By the way, I love writing rides because I love rides. So I remember at the premiere of the Minion ride in Orlando, everyone was kind of drinking at a bar, and like the head of the parks was there, and I was a little like I had beer courage basically. I went up to him, I'm like, hey, your Harry Potter ride is fantastic. And he's like, yeah, okay, yeah, thanks, like pat me on the head. And I'm like, I hear you're going to expand the park. And he's like, yeah, uh-huh. And he turned away. And I go, you need anyone to write that. You just come right to me. And my wife's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I took a shot. I just slunk away. I did not write a Harry Potter ride, in case you're wondering.
Have you written other rides? Because you said you loved the
Simpsons
experience.
ride.
Is there something else?
Oh, God, I wish I wrote the Simpsons ride. That's my fave. No, I haven't written any yet, but I think there are some on the horizon, and I may have a hand in them. We'll see.
I think we all need to go to a theme park with Brian Lynch.
You want to go to if you're in LA, we can all hang out. I can get us right to the front of the line.
I was just going to ask that.
There you go. We're coming out.
Well, Springfield is opening this summer.
I know.
Let's go.
I want a slushie.
Field trip.
I have a lot of sick days in my future.
Good. Do it up.
All right. Well, Brian, thank you so very, very much for giving us some of your time.
By the way, I'm a huge fan of your show. I love it.
Thank you.
You don't have to lie. You're already on the show.
Dude, I followed you on Instagram for the last, I think, over a year. I read every consumer review you put up, I know. I was just telling my friend about it. Before I knew I was on your show, I was telling about it.
Well, thank you for wasting your time following my Instagram. Brian Lynch, you're on Twitter as Brian Lynch, BrianLynch. Are you on Instagram as well?
I am.
Is it the same spelling?
I think it's Brian Michael Lynch, I think.
Okay. Somebody else had Brian Lynch, probably.
Right. A lot of nudes. A lot of
So follow him on Twitter and Instagram. Of course, the most triumphant return of Bill and Ted is available now. If we can get some copies to you, I'd love to have you sign them, and then we could do a giveaway.
Are you? Yeah, of course. Yeah.
That would be so awesome, and even some of the Monster Motors too.
Yeah,
awesome.
Because I think I'm hooked on that now.
Oh yeah, you have to check it out. We'll make it happen.
Cool. Yeah, I'll send you PDFs. I'll send you copies. I'll send you whatever you want.
That'd be great. Anything else that we didn't cover? Minions? No, I think we got everything, right?
I think that's just about it for now.
Oh, by the way, Brian Johnson says hello.
Isn't that awesome? I can't believe this whole channel is like my old friend day. Like Ron Quinn called in, too. It's weird.
If you didn't hear this morning or the replay, it's also on the SiriusXM. The brand new app is out, by the way. Check that out, but on demand. Brian Johnson from Comic Book Men, best friends to Kevin Smith, was on Opie and Jimmy today, talking about a whole bunch of stuff. And right before we went on, he pulls me aside and he goes, "You have Brian Lynch on the show today?" I was like, "Yeah," and he goes, "I love Brian Lynch," and then he was telling me like how great friends you guys are. He's like, "Tell him I said hi." I said, "So I'm telling you guys, he said hi."
Thanks.
I don't know why I sound like Jackie Mason doing it.
I follow him on Twitter and Instagram as well.
There you go.
So shout out to them and
tell him Steve Dave.
There you go. Again, promoting on other stuff that we shouldn't be promoting.
Well, sharing is caring.
Brian Lynch, thank you so much, man. You're welcome on the show anytime, especially if you're in New York. Come in and hang out with us.
Awesome. I love you guys. Thanks.
All right, take care, man.
Okay, bye.
That was great.
Brian's
I want to read the
good
comic
guy.
book. I was just obsessed with following Alex Winter on Twitter because he just constantly was posting photos of him with the book. Like, okay, cool.
Was it just like in different places? That would be great if he just goes around to like cafes and parks and
one
stuff.
of the posts, it seemed like he was threatening Brian. He's like, "Look what I just got," and he's got a serious face. So you're like, "Oh fuck, he might not be." Like he's pissed about this. And then he said, "I'm going to read this and let you know how I feel." And then he's holding the book and he's like, "Oh my god, this is awesome!" And he's taking it with him all over the place.
Now we have to get Alex Winter has to get one of Keanu doing it.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome.
Two of them?
I lived on the Upper West Side for a little bit, and I saw Keanu Reeves on the subway all the time.
Oh really?
And one time I saw him there, like reading the newspaper, and he had a big beard like I have. And I was like, "Oh, is that Keanu Reeves?" I can't tell because he's got like this big beard. And then he was reading a script and just gesticulating on the bench, like. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, "Yep, that's Keanu Reeves."
It's like you've come a long way since the Rush Paula Abdul video. All right, we're going to have to take a break. Thank you again to Brian Lynch and Chris Elliott. Before that, we're going to get to Rose McIver. McIver. Yes. McIver. The star of the new series iZombie on the CW. We're going to get to that right after the break. We'll be right back.
Let's do it up. Beat it.
Now, it's Erik Nagel.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome at this time to the program, please say hello to Rose McIver.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I love the accent.
It's strong.
Now, I noticed the accent is not very present in your new project, which is iZombie on the CW network. How hard is it to suppress the accent or develop the American accent in order to fit what they wanted?
Yeah, it's not too bad at all. I mean, I've been doing American accents since I was a kid. I worked on Hercules and Xena when they shot in New Zealand.
Which I want to get to in a little bit.
But I bastardized the accent back then and tried it as a kid and had kind of been working on it for years. So I feel very comfortable with it now.
How aggravated do people from New Zealand, for those who don't know, you are from New Zealand, how aggravated do people from New Zealand get when you travel abroad and not only do they think you're Australian, sometimes they think you're British?
Yeah, I'm just so used to it, honestly. And I feel like there's worse things to be compared to. I've got so many Aussie
But which is
friends.
more insulting?
Oh, Depends on the day. I think. Depends on how we've been doing in the rugby. If we've just lost to Australia, I don't want to be compared to them.
Or to the rest of the world. I would think that it would be Australian because you're so close, so similar, and there's a lot of history there. But on the other hand, if people are saying you're British, there are people that really haven't traveled and explored the world, because there is a definite difference between Australia and New Zealand and what the British accent is.
Yeah, I think it's a much kind of greater difference, but it's their loss. They haven't traveled.
Yes.
You know, I'm not offended.
The show is called iZombie. It's on the CW network. The show debuts March 17th. iZombie is going to be on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. on the CW, which is pretty cool. You moved a very popular show off their time slot with Supernatural.
I know.
Has a big I won't even say cult fan base, because it's even bigger than that, because you're starting to see them at cons and toys and a whole bunch of stuff. It's gone pretty mainstream, and they have a very passionate fan base, and they're moving them to Wednesdays in order to make room for you guys.
I think the good thing is they have such a huge fan base. Their fans will go with them. They have it sorted, and we actually had a really nice dinner with all the Supernatural gang up in Vancouver. We shoot in the same locations. And so, yeah, it was really good to get to know them. I think they've created such a great show, and it's awesome for us to be able to follow The Flash, the DC Comics night, we're calling it.
There's a lot of social media presence from people involved with the show, the network, even yourself. You've been promoting it pretty heavily on your Twitter and your Instagram. It's Rosie McIver on Twitter and the Instagram.
Correct.
Have you seen any pushback from, just because the internet sucks? Have you seen dumb fans saying like, I can't believe you're moving Supernatural? I mean, you can set the DVR now. It doesn't matter what day it's on anymore.
To be honest, I think I mean, there's been such an overwhelming amount of like good feedback and great things. Occasionally you'll get some trolls in there that don't say very nice stuff, but that's kind of been happening forever, and it happens too. I remember somebody telling me that, like, for example, if Taylor Swift said something like, oh, I had broccoli for dinner and I didn't like it, there'd be somebody out there who said, well, broccoli saved my mum's life because she did like, you can, no matter what you say, it can be taken one way. So I'm pretty good at not feeling that pressure at all, but everybody's been really lovely and supportive by and large.
I don't think you get much social media pushback, do you?
No.
You really haven't done anything to cause any problems, but that doesn't stop anybody either.
No, exactly. Well, that's what I mean about the Taylor thing.
She's too nice. She's too cheery.
Stop smiling.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
iZombie, for people who don't know, it's an adaptation of the comic book. I'm not 100%. I only saw a couple episodes, but I'm not 100% sure how much you're drawing from the actual comic itself.
Well, the premise is that Liv is a zombie who eats brains. And
Liv is your character.
Liv is my character.
Olivia,
and Olivia Moore, Liv Moore. But yeah, it's very much like the same wry sense of humor and the same kind of kick-ass, strong female lead. There are things that we've definitely drawn from the comic, but at the same time, I've worked on so many adaptations before, and there is a big difference when something goes to screen, and there's certain things that do and don't work. And so it's been changed in the ways that we think serve it as a TV show. And hopefully still it retains the kind of essence from the comic book, because I think that they're a great series and I'm a big fan of them.
The comic, anybody wants to go back and explore, is an old, it's part of the DC family, but I believe it's a Vertigo imprint. So the show is here. It's taken off that idea. It's not what you would typically think a zombie project would be, especially the way things happen, what you can do in the show, which we'll get to in a second, is not typical of, say, what you're used to from Night of the Living Dead or The Walking Dead, where, you fight, you get bit, and then later you develop a sickness, you die, you come back, and now the virus is controlling you. But in your case, when you come back as the zombie that you are, you can speak, you have your brain capability, but you can turn on and off at some points the zombie power, I'll say, almost like the Hulk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we aren't like the shambling kind of undead at all. It is more like Hulkish in some ways. The idea is that if a zombie in our show eats brains, they're able to retain their humanity in some sense, and pass as humans. They lose their pigment. We all have white hair and very white skin, and there are certain physiological things like that, but by and large we are quite human. And when we don't eat brains, we see quite early on in one of the earliest episodes where people can go, and it's a little bit more traditional. We still have a little bit of our own spin on it, but the zombies feel a bit more like the zombies that we know and love from other projects. But at the same time, when you get adrenaline or like raging out, we call it, you become a little bit more of like a feisty, fiery, fast-moving zombie.
Because I noticed in, without giving away too much, there was a scene where you're at an art show. Some gentleman comes up and
gentleman's generous.
approaches you in a manner that is not fit for approaching a woman, and decides to become a little aggressive with you, and within seconds you're gone and your zombie persona takes over and just kicks the shit out of him.
That's right. It's when Liv gets threatened, when she's threatened or starving, or it's quite animalistic like that.
Right.
These zombie things come out, her eyes go red, and she gets quite superhuman in her strength.
It's definitely an interesting take that you could turn it on and off.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's also a little bit beyond her control. She doesn't always want it to be happening. It just is an instinctive thing.
Right. All right, I'll take that back. The fact that you can control it at any point is an interesting take, because most zombie stuff is once you're bitten, you're gone.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's sort of what we played with. That's our new way of our spin on the genre. And Diane Ruggiero-Wright, who's one of the co-writers of the show, is a huge zombie fan, and she knew everything about the zombie lore and the trajectory of the zombie genre. And so for her, that was kind of her specialty, was being able to come up with which parts of that we incorporate and which parts we subvert. And so we've tried to do that in the show. I mean, Liv is an ethical zombie as well. She tries to do it the best way she can. She eats the brains of people who've already died. She works in a morgue so that she doesn't have to kill people. So that's sort of our special thing, is that zombies don't have to be bad guys.
Now, where did the concept of you come back very albino, like there's a lot of albino jokes in the show there. That's more of a vampire kind of thing, that you lose the pigmentation and what have you. What was the significance of crossing it over into the zombie thing?
I think it was to have a distinctive look that set zombies apart from humans in our show, but that still kept them in a realm where they could pass off as humans. So it was something that would be...
a lot of people don't know... Like, you, the viewer, know who's zombies and who aren't, but the characters that you're interacting with have no idea.
Well, because a lot of them also start to hide their zombie characteristics. They, our villain very early on starts wearing fake tan and dyeing his hair, and so you can cover up these traits, but Liv chooses not to, because she's not a self-loathing zombie as she describes those people. No, she embraces who she is.
Yeah, I was going to say, having this happen to her, she seems to have found a part of herself that she either didn't know she had or has been suppressing.
Yeah.
Like she's starting to enjoy life and art. And I think one of the lines was that now you're just trying to embrace beauty. You're trying to become it in a way.
Absolutely. And I think that's sort of what I like about her as a character and the show, and what it's sort of saying is these terrible catalysts, these things that have happened in people's lives that can completely change them, could ruin you, or you could find some new side of yourself that you'd never known beforehand, and be a stronger version of yourself because of it. And that's what Liv has chosen to do, or been coaxed into doing by her partner in the morgue, Dr. Ravi Chakrabarti.
Let's talk about the morgue for a second here. The brain consumption. Now, I know it's television, I know it's fake, but you guys do a really great job of weird angles and close-ups on it that makes it nauseating to look at. Especially, there's a scene where you're eating it in a Hot Pocket, and I'm just like, oh my god! And then there's a close-up of it on some ramen noodles as you took it out of the microwave, and just what are they made of for the show?
They're made out of like coconut agar. It's like a gelatin thing. We experimented with soy protein and various bits and pieces. That was what worked the best. It looked great and it was bearable to eat.
What's the red on it?
The red on it is it's different. Depends on the angle, depends on the lighting, depends on the consistency in which it's being prepared. Right. But it's corn syrup or like a veggie sauce, like a veggie juice sauce thing. So we use kind of one of those two, and they've done a great job with making them look so real. I mean, I did an interview recently where the interviewer ate a real sheep's brain in front of me. And that was when I truly...
It's a delicacy.
I know, and I looked at it and I was like, right, our props department really nailed it. It's
right.
Very
and it's amazing that that's some of the specifics that they really nail. That's one of the things where I read a lot of reviews. The show people think is sort of Buffy-esque, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So it's got great storyline drama. There's some romance angles, but comes off a little Scooby-Doo-ish at times, which is what Buffy was. Not that that's a bad thing, but it's not what you think of zombie stuff when you're thinking like Walking Dead, where it's very grim and very violent and all this stuff. So you have all this going on, and it's hard to take some of the things seriously because you're laughing at it. But then as soon as you get to the brain shot, you're like, I can't, why am I watching this?
Well, I sort of like that about, I love that about the show, is that we don't take ourselves too seriously. It's like, just as these heightened things are happening and the stakes are raising and it could be very melodramatic, everybody within the scene will have a bit of a laugh at it, or say something that kind of undercuts that or just chills it all out a little bit. So I like that it's supernatural and fantastical, but it doesn't invest entirely in it being just drama. It's a bit silly about it because it's a silly, ridiculous idea that just so happens to kind of work in this, like, I think that's a testament to the writing and the characters that they've written, that people, the way that the relationships are built, you're able to invest in these things that should just be really silly.
I think this show comes at a great time where it's not a bad comparison to be matched up to the Buffy and Angel camp, because that style of show hasn't been done in a while. There was a bunch of shows that were, and that kind of genre feeling for programming has gone to the wayside for a while, but you're bringing it back. And I think it's in a way where people who are fans of that stuff and appreciated that style of television will latch on to this after watching a few and go, oh yeah, this has a familiar feel, even though it's a totally different concept.
Yeah, absolutely. When I read it, it kind of covers so many genres. It's comedy, drama, procedural, zombie, it's all these different things. But tonally, when I've watched the first couple of episodes, I do feel like there's a familiarity about it, and there's kind of a cohesion, and I think that people who have enjoyed those sorts of shows before will really find that appealing in this.
How many episodes have been shot so far?
We've shot 13.
13. So it's a 13 episode season right now?
Correct.
Okay. With that being said, did you have some kind of stipulation in your agreement that you weren't allowed to tan at all? Because you're pretty well made up as being pale, albino-esque in the show. But if you're kind of tan, like you've got some nice pigmentation in you right now, that will come through no matter how much of the white they're caking on. So are they saying you can't go to the beach, you can't do all these things?
They were really good about it. They didn't actually tell me anything like that. For me, it's just I know I will have to spend extra time in the chair, and it makes my job more difficult if I looked not in character. So for me, I just didn't go to the beach. Luckily, I was working every hour of the day anyway, so I didn't have a chance. But over the Christmas holidays, it was genuinely one of the reasons I didn't go back to New Zealand and spend Christmas with my family, because in New Zealand, there's a hole in the ozone layer, and it doesn't matter how much sunscreen you wear, everybody's at the beach all the time and you'll get tanned. And so I didn't, and I waited till after the show finished and went back and saw my family then. And it was also good because I used that whole 2 weeks to catch up on sleep, so it worked out for everyone.
In the first episode, they show how Liv becomes the zombie. In the future episodes, do they really explain more detail of the story as to what led to that happening? Because you see how it happened, but you don't really know what caused all of that. They cut to right in the middle and ending of the incident that caused you to become a zombie. Do they go through the origin?
Yeah, no, they totally do. We, especially as the season progresses, we start to learn more and more about what may have caused it. And there's various theories and there's various paths that we start to go down, exploring that. But viewers will start to get some answers, and they'll also be asking other questions.
iZombie will be on Tuesdays, 9 p.m. on the CW there for those who want to set their DVRs. Have you been to any kind of con anywhere in the world?
I went to Comic-Con last year.
San Diego or New York?
San Diego.
San Diego. Okay, that's the big one. Now that this show's out, you're going to see, it's only like 4 months from now, the next San Diego Comic-Con. You're going to see people dressed as you. You're going to see some kind of, whether it's officially licensed or not, merchandise of your character, of your show out on the floor there if you go shopping or whatever like that. What do you think that's going to be like if you run into somebody and like, oh my God, she looks exactly like me?
I think that's what's so cool about Liv as a character. I think she's the sort of person who you can really dress up as, and I think is a good role model actually for people to dress up as. She's this person who looks pretty odd and embraces how she looks, and I think that's really refreshing in television to see a girl be able to look like that and be considered, a female lead and have relationships and it not be just the weird character actor. Like, she looks odd and that's who she is. And so it'll be fun to see people dressing up as her. And I'd be honored. I would be very flattered.
Some people might get weirded out about that.
If they dressed
Especially
up and came over to my
time.
house, that would be a bit weird. But at a convention, I'm sure it'll be exciting.
The social media push for the show has been great. There's a food truck for iZombie, which you tweeted a photo. You can check it out on her Twitter. I am the letter I, the letter M, Rose McIver, MCIVER. It's a food truck. It was here in New York, and the menu was under Brain Appetit. What's on? I couldn't see what was on the menu though.
Do you know what? I haven't seen what's on that menu either. That was a picture that our boss, Rob Thomas, who made the show, posted yesterday, and I stole it and posted it again without giving him any photo credit at all. So I'm actually going to see him.
Actually go see it. Try out the food.
I'm going to see him this weekend, and I'm sure be dragged over hot coals for that. But yeah, I haven't seen it in person myself. I'd love to. I'm in the city for a couple of days, so hopefully I come across it.
And this next question is so hack, but I'm going to ask you anyway because you have it on your Twitter. There's a Photoshop of you with your face on MacGyver. So growing up in New Zealand, you were born late 80s, I would guess, right? So you were there for the tail end of the height of that show, but I'm sure reruns and syndication around the world. What was that like growing up with people calling you MacGyver?
It was always teachers, weirdly. It was like teachers at school, and typically quite unfunny teachers that would come to me.
They're always unfunny.
And say, hey, have you seen that show? And I'd be like, I'm 7. I don't know what you're talking about. But then, yeah, I've come to understand the joke a bit better since, getting out of my teenage
enough being
years.
bullied and teased by kids in the school. I
got bullied by the teachers.
You don't need shit from your teachers.
I know. I was a target. I was an absolute target.
I'm running out of time with you, but I want to touch on real quick a couple other projects that you were in. For those of you who watch Once Upon a Time on ABC, you're Tinkerbell, but also you've done some Disney Channel films, the Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off, and then the sequel to Johnny
Kapahala.
Thank you. I couldn't think of the title, but it was the sequel to Johnny Tsunami.
Yes,
right.
Correct.
Huge fan base from the Disney Channel. I don't know if it's going to. Well, I'm sure at that point they've grown up a little bit. I think they'll transfer over to follow you to iZombie on CW.
Yeah, hopefully. It is definitely that audience has grown up. So I would imagine that we're probably within that realm.
Right. But I really want to get to the fact that you were in one of the incarnations of Power Rangers.
Correct.
You were in because they keep changing the Power Rangers RPM, which was way after the 90s version.
Oh, we got 20 years on that.
Right,
yeah.
right. But at this point now you're animals. They're not just the whatever the robots were to make the Megazord thing. Now you're a yellow bear and you're the yellow Power Ranger.
Correct.
What is that experience like?
That was one of the best 8 months of my life. I was working with friends. Literally, a couple of the other people I worked with were people I've known since I was 12. Milo Cawthorne and Olivia Tennant, who are now married. Power Rangers brings together married couples. Who knew? But we all worked together for about 8 months, like on harnesses, and it was just so much fun. It was 20 minutes down the road from where I grew up, so I was able to still go to university and do other things at the same time. It was very, very busy, but a lot of fun. I laughed myself stupid on that show.
Did you get a lot of recognition from the Power Rangers? Like, I'll put it this way. Between Disney stuff, the Power Rangers, and now what you're going to have with iZombie, but out of the previous two there, where do you think you were recognized more for?
I guess Power Rangers in the States, weirdly. Nobody recognises actors in New Zealand at all. You're famous if you're a sports person, but nobody cares if you're an actor.
Or Peter Jackson.
Yeah. Even he's fine. He wanders around the street. I still like rugby players and
footballers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's who people would really see in the street and go, oh, that's who that is.
It's good to see New Zealand has priorities.
Yeah, exactly. But coming to the States, I think probably more Power Rangers or Disney Channel. Disney Channel. Depends on the audience.
And to bring this full circle from what you said at the beginning of this interview here was that you were in Xena the Warrior Princess, but you also did all the, most of the Hercules specials with Kevin Sorbo.
I did.
Did you get recognized for that, or was that because you were too young?
I would imagine that I look pretty different. I was sort of between 6 and 10 for most of those, but I I still know Lucy Lawless well, actually. She's a friend of mine and
a fellow New Zealander.
Fellow New Zealander.
Kiwi, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. I never knew if Kiwi was a slang term or if that's what you guys actually call yourselves.
Yeah, no, it's what we call ourselves. Everybody wonders if it's insulting. Not at all. Yeah, they were great fun. They were, I mean, obviously big cult shows as well. And
they're still on to this day on syndicated through maybe not Sci-Fi or the major syndicates anymore, but you can find some of those channels that run old TV shows.
Yeah.
And Hercules and Xena are always on.
Yeah, yeah.
You still get royalties from that?
I never got royalties from those because I was a New Zealand actor in it. Yeah.
Well, make sure you get some from iZombie, which is on the CW network. The show debuts March 17th. iZombie is on Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. on the CW, so you can set your DVRs and watch that. I think we are officially out of time with you. Your Twitter and Instagram is the letters I am, Rose McIver, MCIVER, not MacGyver, like people would tend to think. Rose, thank you so much for coming on the show. I enjoyed what I saw. I think you guys are doing a good adaptation of the comic book. I'd like to see where it goes further as far as if you just use that as a starting point and went on your own, or if you're going to bring more in from those stories. Thank you so much. I'd love to see you next time you come around.
Thanks. I really appreciate it.
Thank you to Rose McIver. McIver. Had to get that in one more time before the show ended
every
there.
time that happens.
iZombie on the CW. Also want to thank Brian Lynch, at Brian Lynch, B-R-I-A-N. All right. Not B-R-Y-A-N, like Giddle spells it. B-R-I-N Lynch on Twitter, and Brian Michael Lynch on the Instagram there. And go out and get the most triumphant return of Bill and Ted in comic book form, and also Monster Motors. Yep. And he's got the Minions movie coming up, but we'll talk to him once that's ready to go. We'll get him back on the show here. And Chris Elliott for Schitt's Creek, which is on Pop TV. Go to poptv.com. It used to be the TV Guide channel. Find out what channel it is on your cable or satellite service provider. Definitely a funny show to watch. His name is Roland Shit, so his name is a pun. And it's a great show. You should definitely check that out. Let's go around the room here real quick. Giddles, anything?
I'm just going to plug my Twitter. It is Gittlebase. I have a mac and cheese takedown on April 12th. Nice. If anybody wants to come out and eat some mac and cheese. And I just really hope that Netflix puts on MacGyver.
Oh, can you bring some of that in?
The mac and cheese?
Yeah. Okay, because the meatballs were great last time.
I will definitely do that.
Lewis.
Just my Twitter, at LewisJohnson21, Louis.
He encourages white women to follow him on Twitter if you could. Matt?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, Geek Stuff OG. And of course, please check out bkgeekstuff.com. It's a podcast I'm part of each and every week. bkgeekstuff.com.
And for me, it's eRock Radio on Twitter and Instagram. Next week on the program, the Funko creative team is calling back in again. Apparently, we got some good buzz around the internet because they confirmed the Sherlock line, and I didn't know that was such a big deal that people were sending me screen caps from all over the place with links to the show and what have you, so that's great. And if you want to spread the show, please, who am I to tell you no? Tell two friends if you could. But the Funko creative team will be back on the show next week to talk about some other new things and maybe some other, I'll get into that. I think they might be considering your suggestion there. They gave us some stuff that we gave away last weekend, some of the Funko Pop and the reaction with the Goonies, which went very well. Yep. We still have the Pulp Fiction line from the reaction by Funko to give away. So maybe we'll do that this weekend. So follow Matt Geek Stuff OG on Twitter, and Matt will have those to give away. Also next week, Bridget Mendler. She's a former Disney star now on the new NBC show Undateable. We'll talk to her. And she's had a couple of hits. I know they're being played on Hits 1. Ready or Not, I think, is the big hit from her.
Very cool.
She'll be on the show. Also, Sean Ashmore, who you may know from X-Men. But he's in The Following that's out right now. It's a good show. I think, Gills, you said you watched that, right?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's got probably the highest knife to neck ratio of any show other than Walking Dead.
Oh, that's a great selling point.
He's also Bobby Drake, a.k.a. Iceman, in the X-Men films.
Right. Nice. So he will be on the show. Also, happy birthday to our friend Lisa Carrero. Today's her birthday. And she'll be returning next week as well.
Oh, nice.
Also want to point out there is a YouTube account, youtube.com/It's Erik Nagel, no apostrophe, all one word. A bunch of our interviews and whatnot are up there, so you please subscribe to that. Check that out if you could. And we mentioned the toy giveaway. So I guess that is it.
Yes.
So until next week, we're a busy show this week. We'll be on demand. probably give it a couple hours. It'll be up there, hopefully, God willing. And busy show next week. Thank you again, everybody who takes the time out to listen to this show.
Absolutely.
And to respond to us on social media. It does not go unnoticed, and it is appreciated. Until next week, we'll be seeing you.
And that's all the time we have. Follow the guys on Twitter and Instagram at eRock Radio and at